Welcome to Kingstown School Creative iMedia, Unit R081, Lesson 10, Storyboards and Scripts. Now, storyboards and scripts are used almost exclusively with moving pictures, although storyboards are sometimes used with comics, but it is the moving picture aspect of things that we will mainly concentrate on. So we're going to learn what goes into a storyboard, what goes into a script, how the two of them complement each other, and how, by making sure that each of those is done to a very good standard, will help you in the production of a film or an excerpt of a film, a trade, or something of that nature, which is just the type of thing that you're going to need to do in the R089 module that we do as part of the Creative iMedia qualification. So it will look very much at what goes into them, how they're laid out, and what ultimately those people who are using them wish to see in them, and of course, who are the people that actually use them. Okay, so let's dive in.
So the objective of today's lesson is to be able to understand the purpose of storyboards and scripts used in the creation of content in iMedia. The success criteria here will be that you will be able to create effective storyboards and scripts that will enable users to film or record media content quickly and efficiently. Now, the reason we need to do this is one, because obviously the specification tells us this, but obviously when you're dealing with things like animation, when you're dealing with films, then you need to know in advance what it is you're going to do. It's very, very difficult to actually create any really good quality film sequences if you haven't mapped out exactly what you're going to do in the first place. And pretty much the same goes for animation as well. Now, if this was a lesson in the classroom, we would now watch a video. So if you'd like to note down the URL above and go and watch that on your device and then come back in 3 minutes. When you've done that, you'll know the basics of the scripts. For those that don't wish to watch that straight away, I will move on now and just go through the next bit. So scripts are where most video and animated stories begin. Once you've got that story, once you've got an idea what it might look like and what it might sound like, then you've got the beginnings of your project. You're going to know then what type of scenes you're going to divide it up into, how many people you're going to need, possibly where the scenes are going to be, any backstory that you might have, the moods of the scene, the characters and what they're going to say, what sound effects they're going to need to augment the dialogue, background music, stage directions. All of these things go together, and once they're fully explored and in place, then you can actually move on to the storyboard and put those down in the order that they're going to need to be done. Now we're going to start off with the script. Mainly because for most projects, it really is the starting point. You're not going to add too much in the way of conversations, etc. After you've decided what you're going to film, you really need to know what the script is saying, and that will give you a good idea of what it is that you're actually going to do in the first place, whether that's an animated scene or a normal film screen. So as you can see here, the way that we do this to make it easier for a lot of us would be to take the story as it's written, which is what you can see there on the left, and if you break it down, certainly by color coding to start off with, as you can see here on the right. So the yellow is for those things which are known as the background noises, okay, and the music that might be in the background. Green there is for one character, okay, and you've also got grey for a second character, and then in the fuchsia there, the sort of pink colour, you can see actually how that is intonated. So whilst it says what the characters are doing and what they're saying, it also details how they actually say it. So that's something that you really need to be aware of, that the script is going to tell the actors exactly how they should be saying those words so that they get exactly the right sort of effect. Now, you can then take what you can see there in sort of first draft format and then take it and put it into a grid, as you can see down there on the bottom right of the screen, where you've broken it down into what special effects are going on in the background, etc. Obviously, the direction of how the lines are going to be spoken by the actors, and then the lines themselves. So that's kind of what we're expecting people to do. Now, you might just write the story yourself in the first place. You may be adapting it from something else. But what you see there in the bottom right-hand corner is pretty much how you would expect to see it when you come to doing your sort of recording, if you like. So you give that to the actors so they know exactly what they're going to be doing. Now, the storyboards are the visual part of this. Again, there's a small clip here that you can watch. So once again, take note of the URL, go and watch that on your device. It's about 4 minutes long, and it tells you obviously exactly what goes into the storyboards. I can now show you a little bit of what that is all about. The storyboard obviously is normally laid out scene by scene. That's the first thing. So we're expecting to see on there the scene number or the shot number for the scene. You might have on several occasions more shots to one scene. So if you're getting a little bit clever with the way that you film these things, you might actually have more than one camera running at once. So you're going to actually see the scene from two different angles. So perhaps if someone's having a long conversation or something like that, you would actually sort of switch between the characters or at least switch between their perspectives so that you get a good idea of what's going on. But essentially, it's a plan of how you are going to actually make that scene happen. If it's an animation, it will say obviously which scenes need to be drawn out, and then you will quite often take what you've got on the storyboard and just embellish that, and the storyboard itself becomes the comic scene and then gets animated after that. In terms of film work, obviously, as you can see here, we've got each of the shots that we're going to be using. It tells the people where they're supposed to be, what kind of shot that's going to be. So you can see that it says shot type. It's a low shot. So the low shot normally means that actually you're low to ground level with the camera. It could be looking up, or it could be just at ground level anyway, but it's a low shot. Second shot that they've got there says CU for close up. Obviously, in this instance, you've got some 10 pins from bowling, and you're seeing them from right in front of the 10 pins rather than at the other end of the alley, as it were. So, things that we definitely need to have. We definitely need to have timings. We definitely need to know what camera angles are being used. Quite often you need to know what the lighting is supposed to be, where the setting is, what location you're on. You will need to know what props are going to be there, what sounds, and probably also be a good idea if you knew which actors are going to be there and the type of thing that they're going to be talking about. And you need to understand what each of these things mean. So, a little bit of an activity for you here. I'm sure most of you have got access to the internet, otherwise you wouldn't be actually watching this video presentation. So note all these shot techniques down, and as you can see, I've put in a couple for you, but if you can spend sort of like 10-15 minutes finding out what they are and what they're used for so that you know what type of shots you might use in the future, but certainly these are the type of things that we would expect to see on a storyboard. Okay, so let's have a look at a storyboard in a little bit more detail. So we said that we need timings, camera angles, lighting, settings, locations, props and sounds. I would expect also to see there the scene number or the shot number. So you should be able to see there that it's got a 1, a 2 and a 3 in the middle of each of those boxes at the top there. As you can see, it's got a little bit of a sketch, if you like, of what's going on. It tells the person that's going to be doing the actual film work, i.e. the camera crew, exactly what they should expect to see there. In this case, that looks like it's an animation, so it's just describing the title page that they are going to require. Second scene there has a little bit more detail about what's going to happen. It's got a description of what is actually going to happen. It's got a song played in the background there. That's mentioned. You can see what's doing what and when. Okay. The only thing that I would expect to improve on this particular storyboard is that I don't have timings. So here we say we've got need to have those timings. I do not know at this current moment, because it's probably just the first draft of this storyboard, I don't yet know how long my camera crew are expecting to actually concentrate on each of the aspects of this particular shot. But in all other intents and purposes, what we've got here ties up with what we've put down on the left. We've got a description of what's going on. We've got the camera angles. It's telling us where we're going to be shooting it. In this case, as I said, I think it's an animation that we are doing. So they're setting the location, and the props don't come into it quite so much. But those are things when you're doing this for film work, they definitely need to be there, along with who is actually doing the talking if there's anything going on. So for a film work where you see the characters, then obviously you'll expect to see actors in their place. So let's just have a look at this again. So we've got a scene here, and we have some timings. We know that this is a 20-second shot. It's the scene 1. It's in the bedroom. It says that the character is asleep just before the alarm, and there's an eerie silence. The camera's going to gradually zoom into the head for 10 seconds. The alarm sounds, the camera pans out. The character sits bolt upright and reaches to the phone to silence the alarm. Okay, so there we go. We've got the scene number. We've got where it is, the location in the bedroom. Now, whether that would be on location somewhere or whether that's in the studio, obviously we'll know from whatever project we're on. We've got the timings in total, the time for the whole of the scene, and it's broken down within that with obviously zooming to the head for 10 seconds, so that's to start off with, and then it pans out again when it sees that the character sits up and silences the alarm, and that whole second part of that is another 10 seconds, so we know exactly what it is. And then we would expect, obviously, for each scene thereafter, a similar amount of detail. So I think what would be a really good idea now is that we spend a little bit of time actually writing a simple script. Okay, and as you can see there, what I want is just a simple script of how you got up and got ready for school and your journey to school, what that would normally be. So I'm hoping you can all remember what that's like. You should include obviously what locations you're going to be including the scenes. So expect the first one to be in the bedroom, perhaps another one while you're having breakfast, that type of thing. Okay. You should include what activities are actually being undertaken, what the general ambience is like. I don't know about your house, but my house sometimes in the mornings it's a bit manic as everyone's trying to do their individual things. Okay, what dialogue takes place between the people that are there, and the stage direction, or where you want people to be, etc. Okay. As it says there, I'd like you to do that for at least 4 different scenes, okay, with a number of camera shots. I'm expecting this not just to be shot, just from it's a mid shot and everything happens in that. No, I want to have some close-ups for emphasis. I want to see what's happening, a little bit of a detail about things that are going on. And once you've got your script written out, okay, then I want you to create a storyboard to go with it. Okay, so similar layout as you can see on the screen that we've got here. is what I want. I want you to divide that up into, well, it says 6, but I'm ultimately not going to be too pedantic. It says that I've got at least 4 scenes, so I'm expecting at least 4 scenes to be on your storyboard. I would assume that actually, as I said earlier, that you might actually have a couple of scenes where you've got more than one shot to complete the scene. So I'm hoping that will expand slightly. So you need to sketch your story onto the scenes, add the details of the characters, add some timings to it, any props that you would need, characters that are supposed to be there, the timings for each of the shots that you're going to use, what the shots are, why they're there. So I think that covers everything that I need you to do for that. And as I said, that should really, I suppose it depends on how good your artwork you think needs to be, etc. But I'm thinking that between 30 and 45 minutes to do that. And as normal, if you could then email that over to me or to your teacher, whoever set this to you, and so we can have a look and know that you understand what it is that is required in each of these activities. There will be a homework, of course, linked with all of this, as you would expect. And once we've done the next lesson after this, there will also be another in-class test. So, just to make sure, of course, that you're on your toes and we know that you have understood, I would like you also to email me or your teacher, whoever set this, with the answers to these five little questions. It says here next lesson will be 11 with the properties and limitations of file formats, but it could be depending on which year group you're with, etc., and how we're doing this or what time of the year that could change. It's more likely, in fact, to be probably lesson 12, but there will be a follow-on lesson. Okay, well, hope you've enjoyed this little lesson. And I'm looking forward to seeing your scripts and your storyboards in due course.